Hey everyone, Tinkenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the L-39ZA Albatros. This is a currently 6.7 BR ranked 5 premium strike aircraft in the USSR Air Force's tech tree, though flies under the Czech flag. The pack that it comes in currently costs $49.99 USD when not on sale, and comes with 15 days of premium time and 2,000 Golden Eagles. With that said, in this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this strike aircraft, including its stats, how it plays, I'll go over its strengths and weaknesses, I'll give it some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation on if I feel that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. With that said, if you like this kind of video, please consider subscribing, but without further ado, let's get into the review. Now to start, I'll place the stat card here on the side of the screen. Important things to note are its armament, its rate of climb, and its top speed. Now, for how it plays. In short, the Albatros feels exactly like what you'd imagine a trainer jet would feel like. It is light, fairly nimble, very responsive to directional inputs, and it isn't very fast. It also has a limited standard armament when not equipping it with anything else. This makes it, in my opinion, a good introductory jet for people just learning how to fly jets, though it isn't quite like most early jets, as it's a bit more modern and its throttle is a bit more responsive, even if the Albatros has otherwise similar performance compared to early jets. Regardless, the Albatros has an ace in the hole with its air spawn, of which allows it to intercept enemy bombers, followed by effective boom and zoom tactics on planes at lower altitudes. This is especially if you equip the 4 LMG gun pod loadout, as these are filled with incendiary rounds which absolutely tear apart enemy planes, even if they are lower caliber and have a very limited burst mass by themselves. Because the 23mm cannon only has 150 rounds and goes through them in under 3 seconds, equipping these LMGs is essentially necessary if you plan to play air battles, as they will allow you to continue fighting beyond the very limited shelf life of your primary armament. With that said, the Albatros really does not hold any advantage over the super props that it might fight, outside of speed at which its airframe will break. Straight line speed, acceleration, and rate of climb are give or take equal to most early jets or super props, with many early jets actually having a higher straight line top speed than the Albatros, though the Albatros is a bit better in a dive. Maneuverability with the Albatros is good all things considered, but it will still be beaten out by most props at this BR, while it can beat most early jets in that regard. Insofar as attacking bases is concerned, the Albatros is surprisingly quite limited, as it currently lacks the incendiary bomb options that deal extra damage to bases, leaving it with bombs that can only damage a base up to around half of its health, give or take depending on your loadout. Because of this weak base attack capability, I would advise to stick with the gun pod loadout and almost exclusively go after other planes, starting up high by going after bombers first, followed again by the boom and zoom on lower altitude aircraft. Now for close air support, the Albatros has good weapons, even if the total amount that it can carry feels somewhat limited, with a current 1150 kilogram weight limit. This isn't bad, especially considering its current BR, but it may throw some people off that are expecting a strike aircraft to carry more. Remember, this is a light strike aircraft and trainer, not a super weapon. With that said, what it can carry is quite effective, with up to 8 OFAB 100-110 TU 100 kilogram bombs that have very high explosive filler equivalent amounts for their size, and of course they are also parachute bombs, 2 500 kilogram bombs, 4 250 kilogram bombs, and up to 64 S5K rockets mounted in pods under the wings. This all means that the Albatros, while feeling somewhat limited in total ordnance load, has quite effective ordnance for this BR, and even somewhat advanced weapons, considering the S5K rockets and parachute bombs. Now with all that said, let's get into strengths and weaknesses, and first for its strengths. It can carry up to 12 total LMGs and 4 gun pods under the wings, with 6,000 rounds in total. This, when combined with its standard 23mm cannon, gives up to 11.24 kilograms per second of burst mass, which is excellent, especially for this BR, though 9.91 kilograms per second of it comes from the 23mm cannon by itself, of which only has 150 rounds in total, which is just under 3 seconds of total firing time. For its second strength, it has a fantastic roll rate. Third, it can carry a very good amount of anti-ground ordnance, including up to 1,000 kilograms of bombs, with options for up to 8 100 kilogram parachute bombs, or up to 64 S5K rockets. The total ordnance load is 1150 kilograms at max that the Albatros can carry. For its fourth strength, it has very responsive flight controls at essentially all speeds. Fifth, its airframe destruction speed is around 950 kilometers per hour, which is excellent for this BR and allows for excellent boom and zooming. For its sixth strength, it has surprisingly good maneuverability, but still won't beat most dedicated fighters, especially high BR piston fighters. Seventh, it features 2 pilots, which means that one can die and you'll still be able to fly this plane. For its eighth strength, it has an engine fire system which isn't all too common at this BR. Ninth, while not invincible, the Albatros can sustain a relatively good amount of damage before being destroyed. This is enhanced by the 2-pilot setup and EFS mentioned earlier. For its 10th strength as an air spawn, this helps for intercepting enemy bombers and also sets you up to boom and zoom. For its 11th strength, the aircraft will stop you from deploying flaps at speeds that will break them. This is typically around 340 km per hour. 12th, while not a huge deal, the Albatros can drop bombs one by one rather than simultaneously, which isn't always a given at this BR and allows the player to be more efficient with their ordnance. Beyond this, every bullet in the PKM MG pods are armor-piercing incendiary tracers, which heavily increases the likelihood of setting an enemy aircraft on fire. And finally, it features premium RP and SL bonuses. Now for its weaknesses. First, despite being a jet, the top speed is somewhat mediocre, being low for even jets of this BR, with the acceleration and rate of climb essentially being no different. Second, as stated before, the 23mm GSH-23L cannon only has 150 rounds, and once that's gone after 3 seconds or so of firing, you have to rely on either having no more guns or only 1.33 kilograms per second of burst mass at very most if you have a full LMG gun pod loadout. For its third weakness, none of the fuel tanks are self-sealing. This is especially troubling due to the replacement, with 2 being extremely vulnerable on the outer wings and the other ones being in the middle of the fuselage. For its fourth weakness, while nice for volume of fire and for earning assist, the PKM machine guns in the gun pods will only damage unarmored or open-top ground vehicles when going for CAS. And finally, while overall good for ground battles, the ordnance load will only be able to destroy about half of a base, and that's if you use the 8 100kg parachute bombs. Now with all that being said, let's get into how I score this vehicle. And first, for dogfighting and ARB, I give it a 6.75 out of 10. While the premium Albatros is certainly very good for air battles, this is largely contingent on its air spawn and not overestimating its jet engine and overall performance. The reason for its aptitude in air battles largely boils down to several key factors, namely its armament, decent turning capability, air spawn, and pretty good top speed. While it won't be able to go too much faster than most props while in a straight line, the airframe is strong enough to handle speeds near 1,000 km per hour, which gives a huge advantage when in a dive. Further, the underwing MGs that you can attach to the Albatros are extremely powerful, despite their low burst mass. This is due to the volume of fire that they produce, on top of the fact that every shot that they fire is incendiary, which makes them tremendously powerful versus aircraft. Add in a huge amount of ammunition, and the Albatros turns into a very potent aircraft with incredible combat endurance. Without those gun pods, however, and the Albatros has almost no ammo thanks to its 23mm cannon, having such a high fire rate against having just 150 rounds in total. When carrying the gun pods, you have a 6.75 out of 10 aircraft. Without them, and this plane is barely a 5 out of 10 in air battles. And that's largely contingent on you conserving ammo and being extremely accurate. In truth, without those gun pods, this thing's probably in the 3.5 to 4 category. Now with that said, for close air support, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. While some may view this extremely limited loadout as a negative, and it kinda is, one must put it into perspective first. This is a currently 6.7 BR aircraft. Just because it's a jet doesn't give it superpowers. This is a light attack aircraft through and through, and it shows. The thing is though that it can still carry 2 decently sized 500kg bombs, up to 4 100kg or 250kg bombs, or up to 8 parachute 100kg bombs, or even up to 64 S5K rockets, which are all feasible at this BR. This all equals a fairly good loadout that fits for this BR, especially given the other characteristics of this plane, including its powerful 23mm cannon and very durable airframe. Plus it gets very powerful parachute bombs in the OFAB 100-110 TUs, as you can carry up to 8 of them, and they have an excellent amount of explosive filler equivalent inside of them, with 57.2 kilograms in total, which is excellent for that size of bomb. Now overall, I give the Albatros a 6.75 out of 10. While I'm not surprised by how good the Albatros is at its current BR, I'm still a little surprised in how much I enjoy it. It is not perfect by any means, as low BR jets, Albatros included, have noticeable performance issues, but it still gets the job done versus both air and ground. Oddly, despite this being a strike aircraft, I feel that it's a little bit better versus air targets, though this is largely due to its gun pods and air spawn more than anything else, as the plane by itself is very iffy versus super props at this BR without those things. This means that success with the Albatros in any given game mode is likely to be largely dependent on the ordnance that you choose to carry, as the aircraft itself almost feels like a blank canvas otherwise. Now with that said, do I recommend the L-39ZA Albatros for purchase? Yes, but only when it's on sale, due to its somewhat high regular price of $49.99 USD. I like this aircraft for several reasons. While it isn't just some incredible plane that will give you super superpowers just because it's a jet. It's more or less a nice introduction into how jets function so that people new to jets can get used to it. This is befitting as the L-39 was used as a trainer in real life. Further, the Albatros has a nice array of weapons, making it extremely versatile relative to BR, and it is very forgiving insofar as its flight model is concerned. All of this aside, the Albatros is still very much imperfect, as it lives and dies by the ordnance that you carry and your skill with it, as the Albatros without any ordnance may as well be naked. Otherwise, the Albatros is fantastic if you don't expect it to be some overpowered low BR jet wonder weapon. It does well when you take its weaknesses into consideration, and don't assume that it'll outperform superprops just because it's a jet, nor will it have an overpowered anti-ground loadout simply due to the fact that it's a strike jet. All this considered, I give the L-39ZA Albatros my Tankenstein seal of approval and my recommendation for purchase when it's on sale. Personally, I feel that the Albatros is a perfectly good vehicle that can typically do what you ask of it. It isn't overpowered like the Su-11, arguably at least, but is instead versatile and fairly well balanced for what it is and what it can do. Now with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think both of this review and of the Albatros in the comments below. Also, if you don't mind, please consider subscribing if you like this kind of content, as I release it with some regularity. Either way, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.